welcome back to the High Low Sports Podcast. I'm DJ, joined by Kelcey. We've been doing the top 5 rankings for NFL positions leading up to the kickoff to the regular season. Today we're talking running backs, the most forgotten about position, and safeties, probably one of the more overutilized position these days with the way offenses work. Maybe not overutilized, but one that's become more important than previous years. I'm going to start things off with this list, Kelcey, if you don't mind. I'm going to start with safeties because this is one that I feel really passionate about and teams are finally starting to recognize because he got shafted coming out of his draft. He was a first-round talent that did not get taken in the first round for no other reason than they don't like his name. I don't know why, but he is a stud.
You do you, guy.
Eddie Jackson, the safety on the Bears, he is basically everything Earl Thomas is when Earl Thomas was at his peak, maybe a little less athletic. He is the ultimate ball hawk. He sees the entire field. Once he diagnoses the play, he attacks it like he runs a 4.2 40. When it comes to his ability to just hawk after the ball when it's in the air, to get picks, fumbles, and most importantly, score touchdowns. Like that dude had, if I'm not mistaken, a pick six and a fumble recovery for a touchdown in the same game as a rookie. And this is before you had the Khalil Mack pass rush, the addition of Roquan Smith, Akeem Hicks exploding. Like this dude is a stud. He had next and he took next all in the same year, basically. At the start of the year, he's like, I got next. And then by the end of the year, he's like, nah, it's my turn. When it comes to the safety position, it is Eddie Jackson's league. I think he's overtaken it from everybody. There's a bunch of good safeties. It's Eddie Jackson's time at the top until proven otherwise right now. I think he's officially taken that mantle like a young Ed Reed did when they were like, oh, it's too early for him. What about guys like Brian Dawkins that are still older but great? Earl Thomas, when he took it, they're still looking at other guys that were before him. Bob Sanders, etc. You look at some of the more recent ones, trying to think of some other ones, but like Eric Berry, he had next, and unfortunately injuries in that unfortunate cancer situation kind of derailed it from him. But all those guys, they basically were on this Eddie Jackson trail where they exploded early, and not very many people everyone thought they'd be good, but they didn't think that's that next dude. I think Eddie Jackson's that next dude, and I think he took that mantle last year.
You know, I will say, for a forgotten man, he did pretty well for himself. You know, coming out of Alabama, it's hard to. I agree with everything you said except for the forgotten man part, because the dude came out of Alabama. He was part of a national championship run. You know,
and he
was fine. He's fine wherever he gets drafted. He got paid enough at Alabama. So
we're not talking about money now. I mean, we know those Alabama players get paid better than practice squad NFL players. We know this. But what I'm saying is he's a first-round talent that basically got overlooked because he was at Alabama and he's not one of the thick boys or a running back that's overdrafted and sucks like Trent Richardson or something like that. He was a stud safety in college and like, oh, no, he's maybe a second, third-round talent when he was a top 15 talent in that draft coming out.
Yeah.
That was my point.
I'll give you credit for that one, but I will take your forgotten man and I will raise you one. Kevin Byard. He is my number one safety, the man that's been forgotten by players, former players, probably other teams. Like
the fact that he wasn't on the top 100 was egregious. That dude, honestly, he's not on my list. I'll spoil that now, but it is by no fault of his own. I just had a different pick, but if you told me to take everyone besides Eddie Jackson off this list to put him on there, I could not really argue. And what Deion Sanders did to that man's recognition was a travesty. Deion Sanders, that was embarrassing. Yeah. How do you not know that dude's in the NFL and say, you're just a fan? That's terrible. You're an NFL Network analyst, and honestly, you've been terrible the last 10 years. Yeah. It's been embarrassing. So
now,
just want to say that. I absolutely hate that how he basically, I don't want to say ruined Kevin Byard's career because he's obviously an all-pro stud.
But he didn't do any favors for him, PR-wise, that's for sure.
Especially when you're a fellow defensive back. I thought 21 in prime, this whole junk that you do. Like, how do you overlook Kevin Byard like that when you're an NFL analyst? Like, good on you for naming him number one. The fact that I'm in my top 5 is a little bit rude, and I'm kind of unhappy about that because I have him at like 6, just because some of these other guys I like certain parts of their game. Thank you for picking Kevin Byard number 1. I'm glad you did it.
I mean, everything you said about Eddie Jackson applies to Kevin Byard. He's maybe not the level of vision that Eddie Jackson has, but he's still always around the ball. It's crazy, and you know, maybe the reason why he gets overlooked so much, his name is Kevin. Like, how many good Kevins have there been in the league in the last 20 years? I can't think of a really good Kevin lately. So maybe that's why it is. Maybe it's just the name. Maybe he needs to change his name to Earl Byard or something like.
The Kevin curse, is this going to be a new thing?
Like I don't know what else it is. Like how does somebody? Maybe it's because he plays for the Titans.
It doesn't even make sense, and it's not like he's surrounded by like all pros that take away from his shine. I mean, Jarrell Casey's nice. Adoree Jackson's a decent upcoming player for 2 years, but Who else sticks out on there that would take his shine away?
Exactly. Like Brian Ratko, maybe, but like he's retired now. He's gone. Like it is Kevin Byard or bust for me at safety. Like I mean, if I have a number one pick at safety, it's going to be Kevin Byard, just because I don't see any holes in his game. Like if I look at his game on paper, I think he is above average in every position on the board. I don't think there's one that he's below average on. Except for, I mean, he's a little smaller, so sticking his nose in on somebody, maybe he gets run over once or twice by a Todd Gurley or two. And we'll get to that, we'll get to Todd Gurley in a minute. And
he might not be the fastest or most physically gifted necessarily, but he's just a dude. Like, I don't know why he's overlooked. Maybe it's because he doesn't make, like, the game-changing plays. Like,
well, it's hard to do that when your team's
when Marcus Mariota's your quarterback and he's broke in the one game he plays well. I don't know. And then your running back situation, Derrick Henry doesn't get the ball till the last 4 weeks of the season for some reason. I don't know what it is, but
that Titans team is broken. There's a lot of things that need to be worked on there.
It's weird. They're a broken team that wins 9 games and is almost in the playoffs. They're the weirdest team how they win games, but at the same time they look terrible doing it sometimes.
Exactly. But yeah, so I got Kevin Byard at number 1.
You can't go wrong, and the fact that he's not on my list is kind of disappointing, but just some of these other, you said he's above average at everything else. All these other guys I picked are like an A at something. That's pretty much why I picked them, where Kevin Byard's a B+ at everything.
And then, to play off your point of Eddie Jackson, he's my number 2. I'm biased because he did go to Bama.
I understand the inner hatred within you. The fact he's on this list makes you want to cut your wrists.
It hurts a little bit to give the guys from the other side of the state of Alabama some credit, but Auburn West deserves a little bit of credit with Eddie Jackson. They turned out a good safety there. The dude's a stud. Everything you said about him is true. I mean, I think he has a little bit more benefit than Kevin Byard. He has Adrian Amos next to him, who, in his own right...
Not anymore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but in his growth period,
And don't get me wrong. Like,
in his own right, he had him there, and that adds a little bit of buffer for him.
I think that's kind of what I did to boost Eddie Jackson's with all those dogs, if you want to call him that. He still was the one making those game-changing plays, like those. Like, we're splitting hairs. He's your number 2. He's like I said, I love Kevin Byard. The fact that Deion Sanders basically ignored him like that when he was an All-Pro is just as blasphemy. You are paid millions of dollars to know your spit, and that's what you do. And it's on Twitter, of all things, too. Like, you look stupid doing that.
Yeah, Kevin Byard, I feel like there's just some reason he gets overlooked. I don't get it. But the dude's going to go in the books if he continues with the rate he's going. He's going to be one of the best safeties to play the game.
He has Hall of Fame potential on his play right now.
Absolutely. And he might be the most overlooked guy with Hall of Fame potential. I mean, there's guys that have no Hall of Fame potential that get all the loudest. Jameis Winston.
Moving on, we don't want to talk about Jameis Winston here. Number 2, I have a guy who doesn't look like he's going to play he's going to miss some time this season, but Derwin James, the young fella out in San Diego, and I know it's LA, but I'm calling San Diego because it's blasphemous there in LA. I will fight this point until I die.
Yep.
But he can play linebacker. He can play safety. He could play corner. He could play outside linebacker and rush the passer. He got sacks last year. He got picks. He forced fumbles. I remember in the top 100, they show one play. It was a weird Andy Reid design where everybody just kind of randomly ends up open, including, I think it was D'Anthony Thomas or someone along. I can't remember his name. He's a burner. Running a streak up the field. Derwin James is 10 yards behind. He's like, oh, shoot. Turns around, somehow gets back there in time underneath a Patrick Mahomes bomb and breaks it up. He does everything. You put him as sub-linebacker, he'll stop the run, kill your tight end. You have him rush the quarterback, he'll break your running back and your quarterback in the same play.
Yeah.
He could probably guard your number 1 receiver if they didn't already have Casey Hayward. They could put him anywhere. If he's out for a long period of time, like let's say more than a handful of games, that LA defense is still going to struggle. Even though they have both, so they have other talent, that dude's going to he makes everyone's job easier. He makes Casey Hayward, who's already fantastic, he basically make it you can't throw in his direction because he's just going to play underneath. If they get over the top and Derwin James is playing single high, I don't want to catch that ball if I know his giant destructive self is sprinting at me.
Yeah, no, they talk about, receivers being afraid to go over the middle. Derwin James is the reason receivers are afraid to go over the middle against San Diego, LA.
That's crazy how he's 6'2", 220, so he's big, but he looks so skinny, so it's like, he's not going to, he just killed me.
He just killed a man. It just happened.
And he has a nose for the ball, which is not quite like Eddie Jackson, which is honestly the splitting factor I had with those two, and like Kevin Byard, who has a better nose for the ball, but he still makes all those plays, too.
Yeah, and see, Derwin James, it's because he can play so many positions. I don't have him on my list. Because to me, I look at him as that sort of star.
He's a Swiss
Jack
Army
role.
knife.
Like, they have that new position they call star in a lot of formations. And
Tyrann Mathieu type guys.
Exactly, yeah. That Honey Badger that really kind of brought it to fruition. And
then what the Steelers do with Troy Polamalu, except Troy kind of sucked compared to a lot of these guys. I don't care what anyone said. Troy was overrated, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, he was only good about his hair. That was the only thing I cared about with Troy Polamalu.
Moving forward.
But yeah, no, Derwin James, the reason I don't have him on my list is I look at how much he can do. He spends 50% of his time at safety, but then he spends 50% of his time at other positions as well. So if you're playing fantasy sports, usually what that'll break down to is that guy gets listed safety / something else. So there's, for him, it's what is your primary role? And yeah, I know it's a safety, but unless you're spending 80% of your plays at safety, for me, I can't put him on my list. And that's nothing against the guy. Everything you said is 100% true, but I can't put him there just because I don't feel like he's just a solid safety. I don't feel like he'll end his career as a safety. I feel like he might make that Brian Urlacher leap and become a linebacker.
Let's change the conversation to best defensive backs in the league right now. Where would you rank him in the top 5 maybe then?
In best defensive backs? Oh, he's probably just outside the top 5 for no other reason than I got to throw corners in there as well. But I do think as far as most influential defensive player, he's 100% up there in the top 10.
Like if you're picking defensive players in the first round of a draft base, like a fantasy draft, he's going in the top 10 if you have to take defense first round.
Like you get a guy that's he's a ball hawker. He is a hitter. I mean,
he's a sack artist.
You don't want to play against him because it's like the Aaron Donald thing we talked about in our defensive linemen in our pass rushers. He's so effective in so many different things. How do you stop him? How do you slow him down is the question. You can't run near him because he will kill somebody.
Can't run away from him because he will track you down.
Yeah, he can't run away from you because he'll be the guy pushing the ball out of bounds or killing somebody on the backside. And do you really want to lose your star receiver blocking on the backside? I don't want to do that.
You can block him, but he gets off blocks pretty well. He's good size. He's an ultimate freak of nature. And honestly, you're kind of right about him being the flex, but I still think of him as a safety. That's why I have him higher. He's the ultimate. He does everything you want. I mean, he's Bob Sanders and Brian Urlacher's body almost sort of thing. It's amazing.
And it was hard for me to leave him off this. I will say that. It was really, really hard to say, you know what, you're going to be the casualty for the safety list. Like
the safety list is really weird because there's 7 guys that are top 5 safeties. It's the weird thing. That's kind of what happened with Kevin Byard, and it killed me to keep him off. But
it's your personal choice at this point.
And then, so that was your number 2 was Eddie Jackson. It sounded like.
Yeah, my Eddie Jackson number 2 on my list for sure.
So number 3, I have the premier thumper in today's game with Cam Chancellor being gone, Jamal Adams, the president as he calls himself on Twitter, like the
El
Jets.
Presidente.
He's my president, but he's
a better president than my president.
He's the ultimate hitter in the league we have now. The dude runs a 4.3. His biceps look like tree trunks sometimes. He doesn't pick the ball as much as you'd like. He only had a couple picks last year, and he didn't have any his rookie year. Put him in the box. Everything we said about Derwin James ×2, honestly.
Yeah.
He forces fumbles. He crushes people. You saw what he did to the Patriots mascot. I mean,
accidentally jumps on him and kills the kid.
Yeah, exactly. He's a linebacker playing safety who can cover anyone. They talked about him playing corner at some point too, and he's like, whatever it takes, man. He's everything Derwin James is, honestly, maybe a little bit less with taking the ball away from picks.
He's a gamer. 100% Jamal Adams is a gamer. I have him later on my list, but he is a gamer to me. And he's going to get some help here this year, too.
I think this year we could see him stick out more. You know who he reminds me of is a more modern-age Sean Taylor. That big, scary athlete that you do not want any part of. And he does that in this you can't kill guys at the head league. If you put him in 10 years ago when the head issue wasn't as big of a deal.
The NFL's greatest hits, volume 1, 2, and 3 every year?
Yeah. In fact, he might be the reason they changed the rules for that because dude's a stud. I love watching him. If the Jets kind of take that next step in these next 2 years with him, Darnold, Le'Veon Bell, he's going to lead the way, man. He's a stud.
Oh, yeah. And you get C.J. Mosley in on that defense, too, and it's going to help him out a lot.
And Quinnen Williams joining that front seven with Leonard Williams. My goodness. That team has so much potential if they get it to click. If they can get the receiver, Robbie Anderson, to stay out of jail, basically, and never drive again.
Can we get the Jets just one season where they put it together? I don't care. I just want to see them. I just want to see them step back into the limelight. of old. Like,
if they're not
going to also, I don't want to see the Patriots win that division again.
Basically, if they're not going to do well, not because they get in their own way, make it because they suck, which, unfortunately, I think the last couple of years they've gotten in their own way.
Yeah.
You have your quarterback now. I know you don't like the USC quarterbacks as much, especially not Sam Darnold with that surfer boy look on his face.
But there's something about Darnold, though. I feel like, yeah, he has that surfer boy, that really punchable surfer boy face.
But that dude can ball, and he showed it.
He can play.
They got their quarterback. He's 21 years old right now, coming with a year of experience. He's
a gamer. And I feel like I can say that about a lot of the new guys the Jets have gotten. They get a lot of gamers right now. And it's like, if it's on the line, I'll take a team full of gamers over a team full of good players because you don't know how they're going to react. A team full of gamers is going to do exactly what you just said. Whatever it takes.
The Raptors basically were a team full of gamers with one superstar. I mean, granted it took some injuries, but we get the point. The point's still the same. Gamers
better to be lucky than good sometimes.
The Mavericks against that Miami Heat team in 2010, 2011. Bunch of gamers, and Dirk Nowitzki, gamers, you called it. That's a perfect way to describe them. I want to see this Jets team take off.
Yeah, Jamal Adams, I 100% agree with everything you said, but like I said, he's not that high on my list.
If he got more picks, I think it'd be unquestioned, honestly. I had him at 3 exclusively based on everything besides picks, basically. If he had picks, him and Eddie Jackson are head buddy at the top.
And you mentioned Sean Taylor as a comparison for him. I think that's perfect because if you're just talking to somebody who watches the NFL only on Sundays and doesn't pay attention to everything in the week, he probably gets overlooked on this list. A lot like how Sean Taylor did. If you weren't paying attention to the Redskins or you didn't have a team in the division, like I'm a Cowboys fan, and I had to watch that team go up against Sean Taylor and the Redskins, I hated it. I absolutely hated it because that man is going to kill somebody. But if you don't know about him, you overlook him easily because outside of the game, honestly, they're pretty quiet. Like, Jamal Adams doesn't do anything wrong. He's funny. He's a funny guy. He makes joking comments off the field, but it's like on the field, that man, players know his name, coaches know his name, and fans of that team know his name, and fans of the other team know his name.
If New York takes off and becomes like a surprise, let's say surprise 10-6 team somehow, and let's say makes the playoffs, a lot of people are going to know his name because he's going to be a cow's behind, especially in that New York media market.
Oh, God.
A lot of people will know him once this team, I think this team, I'm not going to say has next because I've used that phrase like 3 times today.
But it's possible.
When the Patriots, if they ever start to fall off a little bit, here come the Jets. I think they're the team that's coming up in that division more than the Bills. I like Josh Allen and what they're doing. More than the Dolphins. They got Josh Rosen, and they're retooling they're starting at the bottom right now.
Yeah.
So the Jets are next in that division.
And Jamal Adams will lead that charge. I do agree with that.
Exactly.
So for my number 3, I got an aging vet, guy who just switched teams.
The middle fingers, I can see him now.
Earl Thomas.
And this is simply because you wish he was on the Cowboys.
Oh, I 100% wish he was on the Cowboys. The Jones family, you messed this one up, guys.
Should have traded that first-round pick. Granted, you traded it for Amari Cooper, so I guess it worked out either way. But
you should have just done it. I hate to say it, Earl Thomas deserves to be in the silver and blue in Dallas, but instead he's in the purple and black and gold in Baltimore, and he is about to destroy teams in the AFC. And
God, I hope he picks off Ben like 17 times, but that's beside the point.
If we talk about a prototypical ball hawk, a guy who probably coined the term ball hawk in this day and age, don't get me wrong, Brian Dawkins.
Not as much of a ball hawk like this guy is. But Dawkins was that in the box safety who got picked. So this guy.
And Ed Reed, again, not that level. This dude finds the ball and he breaks up anything. And even as an old man, he's still flying across the field. I don't get it. I don't know where he finds the legs to do it, but he does it.
I think basically after Ed Reed retired and towards the end of he was that best safety in football. I think he was basically up until just recently. He is everything we said about Eddie Jackson, Earl Thomas has been there, done that. I just think he's taken a few steps down, so he's at like my 7, 8. He's the one who just missed this list for me too. Can't argue with anything you said other than he's a little smaller. He's had some injury dings in the past. But he does everything like... Honestly, him and Eddie Jackson are kind of the same type of player to me. That's the way they attack and find the ball. Earl Thomas is clearly a little more naturally faster. I mean, he ran like a 4.4 while pulling his hamstring on the last 5 yards.
Yeah.
I think...
That's crazy.
He's not as much of a hitter. Granted, he does have that one big hit stick when he killed Gronkowski's soul.
He has it in him, but I feel like he plays smarter now, so he doesn't.
He's too small to be doing to those guys. Like, he's like 5'10", maybe 200 pounds. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty close. I mean, he's a tiny guy.
Like, he's a baller. He's a gamer. Everything you said about him is true. I just think he's taken a couple steps down, so he's not number one. Like, he's already a Hall of Famer. Clear cut and done. He looked pretty good last year before that injury, too. Like, mostly, I think it was just the Cowboys, because when Dak's throwing the ball, it's not as... I mean, you know about Dak.
It's Dak. You put an asterisk next to past defenses when they play Dak, because when you play Dak, is it passing, really? Like, are we really talking... well, that's, again...
Anyway, yes, we agree. Earl Thomas is a stud, deserves to be on this list. I don't have him on there. I can't really argue too much. Like, I just think he's on the decline, unfortunately. Like,
I think if he leaves Seattle 2 years earlier than when he does, I think he is, well, maybe after the end of the Super Bowl where they lost to the Patriots. I think if he leaves then, I think we're talking a different story right now with Earl Thomas, because I think he doesn't experience that I have to put this defense on my back.
And I think there was a lot of tension you could tell, too. Like, I think it's weird when you're playing with a coach I don't want to say he doesn't respect him, but he clearly didn't like him. He gave him the bird on the way off the field after that.
Yeah, I mean, it tells you a lot about him when a guy that's respected around the league is flipping off his coach because he got hurt. Like, it tells you a lot. Whether it was his coach or his general manager, that's still up for debate. Really, nobody's ever said and confirmed what happened, but he was flipping off people on the sideline.
And he said it wasn't his teammates. He has said it was the coach, too. So, we've confirmed it's not that. But anyway, I agree with you. For me at number 4, I have a guy I almost only have him here because he is a quarterback of a defense from the safety position. He's kind of like Kevin Byard a little bit. I think he's a little bit better tackler and a little bit better covering tight ends. Malcolm Jenkins on the Eagles. I think during that Super Bowl run, especially, he redefined that defense because they had a really good pass rush. Everyone knew that. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, the squad. They rotated them constantly, like, all right, new guy, kept them fresh. It helps when you have that guy on the back end guiding everybody, like, all right, basically what you see, Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, those stud linebackers who quarterback the defense. He does that from the back end. And on top of that, he can cover deep. He covers in the box. He tackles. He could be your slot corner, which he played a lot of. He was a corner when he came out of Ohio State, too. I mean, the Saints probably kind of wish they had kept him, especially for that Minnesota Miracle a couple years ago.
Ooh.
Yikes. But anyway, I think he's the ultimate quarterback of the defense. Still, a lot of like we said about Earl Thomas, he's a little bit older. He's probably not quite the same as he was, but I still think he's a top-tier safety. And just with his brain alone, I think that puts him in the top 5 for me. And he was a corner, so he guards tight ends and slot receivers better than, honestly, a lot of corners do for some teams. Like,
yeah,
I think he's going to be the most likely on my list to fall off quickly, just because he's an older guy and his athleticism's starting to wane just a wee bit. So he's kind of like my designated quote-unquote old guy who's going to probably be replaced on this list next year. But right now, that dude.
I'll give you that. He's good, but he's also an Eagle. So, I don't put Eagles on my list.
Yeah.
So this isn't the tight end list, so I cannot I can't just put an Eagle up there right now. I'm a little biased, but yeah. No, Malcolm Jenkins, he is good. I give you that. Everything you said is right, but to me, I don't know. I think he might have been a better corner than he was as a safety, but with a brain like his, with his football IQ, it's hard to say that and not know that I'm purely speaking on my own bias against the Eagles. That's it. That's the only reason I'm saying that. From a football knowledge standpoint, the dude's second to none. I mean, maybe Earl Thomas might have a bigger football IQ than him.
Who do you have it for then if you don't have Malcolm J?
So number 4, Jamal Adams.
Okay,
is my number 4. So, the next Malcolm Jenkins, if you will, but with a bigger hit stick than Malcolm Jenkins.
With a broken hit stick. He's gonna hurt a lot of guys once they get. If he could hit people like they did back in the day, there would be a lot of injuries on his behalf.
Oh, the Jets would never give up a touchdown.
Just out of fear, if nothing else.
Everybody would be like, no, I don't want to run past the second level. I do not make me go to the safety level. I don't want to get hit.
All right, we're just going to do a toss play. All 5 linemen, ignore the defensive lineman, go chase that guy.
Yeah, I can juke the defensive lineman. Guys, go block Jamal Adams. Just block Jamal Adams.
We'll make the rest work.
Exactly. So that's my number 4. But yeah, everything you said about Jamal Adams is right. It's kind of the same thing as some of our other lists. I just have him lower just because he is younger still.
He needs
he needs something else. He
needs to take the ball away a little bit more with interceptions. As a safety, you need more than, I think, 2 picks in 2 years, which it's kind of weird to say, and I don't mean to criticize his game because I'm not criticizing. I obviously have him as the third best safety in spite of that. Yeah. But I understand you have him a little bit lower base just for that reason, too.
Exactly.
So at number 5, I have your boy, probably your favorite safety in the league, Jeff Heath. That dude is a torpedo.
You did not put Jeff Heath
he dives into the ball. He is in every single play.
This is not a real list anymore. No, you're lying to me. There's no way.
In all seriousness, I was going to go on.
I was like, I was about to quit this podcast and walk right off.
I had a long fake speech planned for this one about how he's a ball hawk. He's always in every play. Anytime you watch a Cowboys game, you see 38 fly across your TV screen.
Yeah, you're right. Fly across the TV screen because he got thrown by a lineman for being out of position. Like, the only time Jeff Heath ever does anything good is when you put him on the bench or he's a backup kicker actually having to kick the ball.
My actual number 5, though, is a guy who he came out the same year as Jamal Adams, and I don't think he's quite made that jump yet to be the elite safety that I think he will be, and those injuries have been a killer for him, but I like Malik Hooker on the Colts. This dude, they compared him to Earl Thomas coming out. You put Clay cover 3 or cover 1, let him roam center field, you're not going over the top of him.
Nope.
If he was playing in that game against Kansas City, I think that changes the Colts defense a lot because they can have him play center field like, all right, Tyreek Hill's going deep. You're going to roam in the middle, and when Patrick tries to get it to him, you can cover that distance. And that could have let them take away Travis Kelce a little more underneath. We saw it. He only has a handful of picks last year. I think he only had 2 or 3. One of them was to beat the Giants during Eli Manning trying to drive the game. He had like 3 of them in 3 games, I think it was his rookie year. He had that one against Seattle where he caught it off a tip with one hand and stiff-armed the heck out of J.D. McKissick. I just remember that one because that was on top play, not ESPN top plays, but like an NFL top plays, because I thought it was a LaDainian Tomlinson stiff-arm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the dude's a true ball hawk in every sense of the word. He didn't have as many picks because teams honestly avoided him. That Colts defense had plenty of other holes to exploit. You avoid Darius Leonard as best you can, and you don't throw Malik Hooker. Everything else is kind of fair game at that point.
And maybe Moore.
Well, Moore's blitzing every play, so you don't have to worry about
it. That's true.
Anyway, so like I think he's going to be the next prototypical center fielder, like an Earl Thomas, like an Eddie Jackson. I think he proved he has that in him when he's healthy, and I think last year, basically like Pro Football Focus ranked him as a high-rated safety, even though his stats didn't show it, because everyone's like, that's the boogeyman back there. I'm avoiding that guy, especially when there's so many other easier routes to victory. Even Patrick Mahomes, he did not force the ball downfield.
Not to Malik Hooker's side, for sure.
And I know Malik didn't play, but at the same time, like, that's what the Colts had to do. They had to have 2 deep safeties basically the whole game because Malik Hooker covers that problem.
Yeah.
They didn't give up a lot of deep down-the-field plays. I mean, especially later in the season once they started clicking. Like, I know Josh Gordon got deep on him once in that Patriots game. Like, obviously no one's perfect, but him alone just helps prevent them from giving up big plays. He lets them get really creative up front with blitzing Kenny Moore every play, Darius Leonard doing Darius Leonard things. Like, having that true safety, I think, can redefine that defense if he stays healthy and he continues to see the field a little bit cleaner. Like, once he gets that Eddie Jackson, Earl Thomas vision going, which just comes with repetition and being on the field, it's over for you. You know what? Like, I mean, Eddie Jackson has 2 full years of playing, 3 full years of playing, plus the film study. Hooker, unfortunately, that knee injury his rookie year set him back so far, I think. But I think he's, quote-unquote, he's got next to, I mean, Jamal Adams, he's been healthy and he's established himself as the thumper from that draft. I think Hooker's going to establish himself as the hawk.
Yeah.
And he's a clean tackler, too. I mean, he doesn't kill people, but he doesn't get ran over. He doesn't get ran by very often. No,
he reminds me, there's something about Indianapolis getting these safeties that just make big plays in clutch moments. Malik Hooker has that kind of feel to him, that Bob Sanders type feel.
It's the Dreads.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it is the Jets. I don't know, but he just reminds me a lot of the Bob Sanders style, and that it's just a prototypical Colts good safety. Is
just
like
a playmaker, basically. Like.
Yeah, you sit back there, you read the play, you address the situation, and you fill the gap.
Whatever needs to be done for that play, make it happen. If the running back gets the edge, you come down and make the tackle. If the receiver's making a breaking in route, you come down and smack them or break it up. If they're going over the top, you get your butt from one hash mark to the other sideline, and you take it away or you bat it down.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he is following in Bob Sanders' footsteps with the injury too. I hope he doesn't keep going down this road. I do hope he can play a lot of full seasons to come. I hope that it's not something that sort of bugaboo that sticks with him, that injury bug. I hope he can shake it. But, I mean, because honestly, I do think you're right. I do think he has that potential to be the next ball hawk out of that draft, that dude that you just don't want to throw near. I mean, he's already shown glimpses of it.
that rookie year when he was fully healthy showed. Last year, you could tell he was still a little bit slower with coming off the injury, but when he was on, he had his moments, and I just think he has next. Honestly, I'd probably overrank him a little bit, which we tend to do sometimes. I just want to be right before everybody else, I guess, maybe.
We'll look back at this at the end of the year, and we'll figure out where we were, but in my eyes, I do see Malik Hooker being up there. I don't know if it's yet. I don't have him on my list, but that's also because outside
you got to make room
Washington,
for Jeff Heath. I mean, you got to make room for him. So.
Yeah, it was. Well, it is another white safety, so we'll see. It's not Jeff Heath though.
Oh well, you narrowed it down on that one. So let's hear.
Yeah, I know. There's only like 4 in the league, but I got Harrison Smith at number 5.
Another guy who's probably better than Hooker on paper, but I like what Hooker is trending towards a little bit more. And as far as the ball hawking,
Harrison Smith is that thumper type of dude though.
He's that dude who just makes a play somehow.
Yeah, we talked about Jamal Adams being a gamer. Harrison Smith, I mean, ever since he came out of Notre Dame, he has been...
He's been everything you could hope for and more. He always makes a play. It might not be a pick. It might not be a forced fumble. It might just be a tackle. It might be a pass breakup. It might be taken on a block or someone else gets the tackle behind the line. He just makes plays. And if you watch him play, it's like, that dude was part of that play almost every time.
Exactly. And, you look at this Vikings team, I don't know if you remember the old Adrian Peterson jerseys, those different Vikings colored.
Yeah.
He was the guy that they showed the defensive plays for. When they show a defensive highlight, usually Harrison Smith was in on it. And it's still that way now. It's crazy to see. And so that's why I put him up at number 5. I feel like he's been overlooked for so long that, if nothing else, it's a small honor. But you know what, Harrison Smith? I'm going to honor you with putting you in my top 5. Jeff Heath doesn't even get this honor, and he plays for my favorite team. So... good on you.
This definitely ranks up there with getting drafted in his career too. This is a top 5 highlight moment.
Oh, it better be. God, it's got to be.
So we're gonna transition now. We've talked a lot about safeties and defense. We're gonna talk safeties, kind of the mismatch on defense, like the guys that could do a little bit of everything that you have to account for doing a lot of things. We're gonna talk about the offensive position that could do a little bit of everything. Well, it used to be the unanimous Heisman Trophy winning position back in college back in the day.
Yeah.
The running backs. So number 1, I think we have the same guy, but let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, obviously, I feel like this is pretty unanimous. If he plays this year, all things considered, it's definitely unanimous. But Zeke, number 1 overall. The dude is that dude. His celebration of eating, it represents his everyday play because he is the only offense in Dallas. I'm sorry, you can't trust Dak to throw his way out of a paper bag, even if it's open on every end.
We agree on that part, at least.
So Zeke is the dude. You give him the ball, he somehow gets a positive gain on almost every play unless, he just gets stopped. Plus he has that offensive line, so he's not going down anytime soon. I don't know how many negative plays he's ever had in his career, but I'm pretty sure I can count it on my fingers and toes, it feels like. It's like you don't really see it with the dude. You saw the game versus Pittsburgh a couple years back, 2 years ago.
3 years ago was his rookie year, actually.
Yeah. So coming down in the fourth quarter, you're down and you're not throwing the ball. You're giving it to Zeke, and he breaks off a 20-some-odd yard run up the middle.
That has more to say about Dak than it does about Zeke, but I know what you're getting at.
But I guess the Steelers' defense at the time, that was really good. I mean, that was pre-Ryan Shazier's back going and running away from him. So, that's I don't know. I just look at Zeke, and I can't think of a better number 1 running back right now.
I wish that we didn't have to worry about copyrights right now, but I'm going to quote my boy Roy Jones Jr. Y'all must have forgot who the real number 1 running back is. That is Le'Veon Bell. He took a year off, and people are forgetting everything that Zeke does, Le'Veon Bell does with less. His offensive line in Pittsburgh was good. It wasn't Dallas good. Zeke can catch. Le'Veon Bell had 80 snags and is the best receiving running back besides 2 guys that we'll talk about probably later, I'd imagine. If one of them's not on your list, I don't know what's wrong with you, but that's beside the point.
Hey, a little bias shows every once in a while.
I can tell that's why you have Zeke at number 1 over Le'Veon Bell. And this is obviously assuming that Le'Veon Bell did not put on 80 pounds over the offseason, but looking at training camp, it does not look like it. We're not going to see him in preseason. He's going to a team with a lot less talent than the Cowboys. I guarantee he will still crack 1,200 rushing yards and more than 500 receiving yards. He will carry that offense in and out while with them taking the load off of him, too. They kept Powell as a running back because I don't think they wanted to put 500 touches on Bell. They gave him a 5-year contract, I think it was. Yeah, they want him to be Le'Veon Bell for 5 years. They don't want to Larry Johnson or DeMarco Murray him into the ground for 2 years than watch him fade.
Ouch. DeMarco was 100% the Cowboys' fault, too.
It was their fault, and I was a huge DeMarco fan coming in when he came out of Oklahoma, and they did him dirty.
Oh, yeah.
They got lucky they found Zeke a couple years later, but Zeke's a stud. I am not taking anything away from him, but people forget Le'Veon Bell, by position, is the best running back in football. In my humble opinion, I could tell you're scoffing at this because I dare pick someone over a Cowboy.
Hold on. No, I must say, I didn't forget Le'Veon Bell. But I have a rule, and I said it during our linebackers video. If you didn't play the year before, you're not going to be the top ranked.
But we'll see.
So, he didn't play last year. He's on my list, and he's my number 2. I agree, everything you said. And he's probably a better pass catcher than anybody else in the league. And what he does in the hole, being able to stop, adjust in the hole, jump cut, I don't get how he does it. It doesn't make sense. Whereas Zeke's a full-on, full-bore guy.
Zeke's a weird truck sticker that has a subtle sidestep. Like, doesn't run people over, but he runs through them while avoiding the contact. It's the weirdest thing. Like, he doesn't run through people, but he avoids enough of them to where he still falls forward. It's the weirdest thing because he doesn't crush through people like a Larry Zonka, but he doesn't shake them like Le'Veon Bell or those guys. He shakes them enough to avoid getting tackled backwards and then falls forward for 5 yards somehow.
Yeah, and you know, to your point on Le'Veon, I don't know how he does it, but he's subtle quick. Like, he's slow fast. Like, it doesn't make sense, but he slows himself down, and while everybody's moving 100 miles per hour around him, he's able to slow himself down and make the exact right move at the exact right time. And my worry, the reason why he's not my top running back, he's going to the Jets, and I don't know what he's going to do after not playing for a year.
Maybe his production doesn't show best running back, but I think he's the best running back because you put him on the Cowboys. Oh, sweet Jesus! As long as you don't even Dak can throw the ball to Le'Veon Bell.
Look, I can throw the ball to Le'Veon Bell in my sleep.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I have Zeke at number 2, literally for the exact same reasons you named him. I'm just thinking like Le'Veon Bell's a 99 in my opinion, where Zeke's a 98.5.
You know the difference is I have a moral code on picking my
moral code, and you pick Zeke. I mean, have you seen that guy's rap sheet?
Hey, he hasn't been convicted yet.
What is Le'Veon Bell being convicted of besides holding out?
I didn't say he got convicted. I just said he didn't play last year, and so he doesn't get the top ranking. And that's my rule for everybody. Tevin Smith was the reason
Was he going to be your top ranked guy if he did play next year? I mean, like,
we'll see. Maybe Tevin Smith can pull something out. But no, Le'Veon. I do think Le'Veon. It was because I was projecting towards this Le'Veon thing. It's the same reason he got left out of the top 100. You look at it, he didn't play last year.
The top 100 list is kind of broken, too, because they don't know are they talking from last year? Are they talking about going into next year? Are they talking about career? I mean, if they were talking about just last year, how is Patty Mahomes not number 1, or at least number 2?
That's a good question.
If you're talking legacy, it's Tom Brady every year, and it's stupid. If we're talking going into next year, who on paper looks like they have the best team going into next year, it's really the Eagles, honestly, with the Eagles, the Cowboys, or the Patriots.
You're not wrong.
I know what you're getting at, and if you don't play last year, you can't make the NFL top 100. When we made this list going into next year with everyone being healthy,
hey,
L. Bell for the win. Pro Bowl, here he comes.
I won't say anything. I will just say that at the end of the season, you're going to be right on this because I don't think Zeke plays this season anyways.
Oh, Zeke, he's my number 2 because of everything you said. I just like L. Bell a little bit more on all of them. So we basically sounds like we have the same top 2 in different orders.
Yeah, just flip-flop the top 2.
And if Zeke plays this year, maybe it proves me wrong because he's looking in good shape down there in Cabo. I mean, he's still ripped. That dude still can play. I mean, take him on my team if I'm taking a running back. Zeke and L. Bell are my top 2 picks for running back.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. When that dude goes to Cabo, he comes back a different human.
For better and for worse. I mean, some things you might bring back with you don't want to bring back. But
I'll say this. If you send any other NFL player to Cabo, I can guarantee they don't come back in shape. You send Zeke to Cabo, the dude comes back 10 pounds lighter and literally just destroying teams. I don't get why he does it. So if the Cowboys can figure...
Just pay the man.
Yeah,
Just tell Dak you're getting 25, you're not getting 30 or 40. Just
don't pay...
Okay, we're going to move on because I don't need to get you into a Dak tirade.
No, you only got Jeff Heath with me earlier. Now you're getting on me on the Dak track.
Who do you have at number 3?
Number 3. It's the other man holding out. Melvin Gordon.
Interesting.
The
man who didn't score a touchdown his rookie year, and you hate him for that.
I absolutely do because I drafted him. Because I love that man coming out of college. I think that man is as good as he's supposed to be, but for some reason he just didn't score a touchdown his rookie year. I don't get it. I don't know what's up. He was literally, it's like the second baseman who wakes up one morning and can't throw the ball to first. He just couldn't get his hair in the end zone. He had to just get one dread in the end zone, and he couldn't do it.
Well, he sure has done it since then, though. That's for sure.
Exactly. I stopped drafting him, and then all of a sudden, you know what? It's my fault because I drafted him so high his rookie year and expected so much from him in my fantasy football leagues that I put the curse on him.
Way to go. The curse of Kelcey continues. And you know what? The one thing about him, that man has some quick feet. Like with those ladder drills, I bet it is scary to watch him do the ladder drills. Everything we talked about Bell, he's pretty equal in that. Oh, good luck tackling him in the open field. Where Bell does in the phone booth, I don't understand how, but
yeah, I don't.
Melvin Gordon does that stuff in the open field. It's like those feet were going 1,000 miles an hour laterally. It's like the Roadrunner's feet in the old cartoons when he's taking off. It's like, wow, how does he do?
You know the old saying, "Slow feet don't eat." That man doesn't have to worry about not eating.
He's nice and full. He's sitting cozy, and he can catch the ball, and he's got. I love Melvin Gordon. I left him off the list because he hasn't played a full season his whole career. I mean, he's a stud, and I like him a lot. If we're doing top 10, he's probably 6 or 7. Like he's right there, and I don't know how the holdout's going to affect him honestly, because he's
not going to Cabo, that's for sure.
I mean, hopefully he's staying in shape, but also being on the San Diego/LA Chargers, there's a lot of mouths to eat there. Maybe he's a beneficiary of everyone else being covered. Who knows? But I love me some Melvin Gordon. Number 3, I have your boy from Georgia, Todd Gurley. The reason he's not number 1 is because he can't stay healthy, and those knees, I'm worried about those knees, man.
Last year's playoff run worried me.
That scared me, honestly. Like, don't get me wrong, 2 years ago, that man was league MVP. I know Tom Brady got in. It should have been Carson Wentz until he got injured, but he had a legit case for MVP. Like, honestly, if Carson Wentz doesn't go down and goes to him after he went down, I think Todd Gurley could have got MVP over Tom Brady. Not Tom Brady hate, just think when you look at what their stats compared to the rest of their position groups did on both winning teams.
Yeah.
Like what Todd Gurley did wasn't a novelty for running backs and just football players, where Tom Brady's had a really dang good quarterback season.
Yeah. And Todd Gurley's probably the only guy that can say in his career that he missed his first 6 games his rookie year.
And still was
and then put himself to winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, his rookie year, because he was just so good game after game after game.
He's got track speed. He's got not quite receiver hands like Le'Veon Bell, but probably better hands than Zeke, who's got good hands.
Yeah.
He's quick, and his spin move's filthy. Like that, his juke moves, like his stiff arm, he's got the full package. He's number 1 if I wasn't scared about his health. I know we talked about health not really being a factor here, but he just misses a lot of games, honestly.
He's got the body of a 20, or he's got the mind of a 26-year-old or whatever he is now, but he's got the body of a 35-year-old. Like,
and the one thing is
that's what scares me too.
I don't know. I like Le'Veon Bell's rounded game a little bit more than Gurley's, like 9 out of 10 compared to 10 out of 10. And then same with Zeke. Like, I like his game a little bit more, but you miss too many games, man. And I think Zeke's a better power runner and Bell's a better shifty runner, where Gurley's a better mix of both, maybe, which unfortunately puts him at 3. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm saying you're the 3rd best running back, and you would be better if I wasn't worried about your knees. Like, that's the only catch, honestly. And when you have all those weapons around.
Exactly. I was about to say, I wonder how much burn he gets as Jared Goff continues his upward trajectory. If he keeps going upwards the way he is, does Gurley keep getting fed, or does it turn more into Jared Goff's team with Gurley getting the side pieces? Whereas right now, it's Gurley getting the feed, and Goff and his
feasting
offense is...
And still getting 400 yards in some games.
Yeah, it's playing off of that, but...
I will say, though, if he plays all 16 games this year, no knee injury, no knee questions, no question marks, really, just like they were basically doing at the start of last year and most of the year before, he might jump Zeke especially if he doesn't play, honestly. Yeah. And maybe Le'Veon Bell just looks like trash, it's possible. He could easily jump right back to that number 1 spot.
Yep.
Like, he's the guy that can either shoot up on this list back to number 1, or he could disappear completely if those knees are dead.
And that's what's scary about running backs in general. We never know what they're going to do. They're such a short-term position that you just never know year after year where they're going to be at.
It's almost better to be a 4th-round pick like a Jordan Howard, so you only have to sign like a 2-year deal, eat those first 2 years, and then get paid again at like 26 or something like that.
Exactly.
Eliminate the franchise tag. Anyway, moving forward.
Yep. So number 4 for me, I got Alvin Kamara.
The Kamaras. You really can't go wrong because that man.
No, that man is just right. He's a guy that can catch, he can run, he can block. I mean, You don't see it often from him. He didn't have to block last year because usually in passing downs where they had the receiver blocking or the running back blocking, it was Mark Ingram.
And Alvin Kamara was your receiver. If anything, you don't put him on the field and not put him in a pass route. The dude runs better routes than most receivers.
And you talk about slow feet don't eat. That dude's feet are quick, and he will run you over too. It doesn't make sense what Alvin Kamara does. He shouldn't be as good as he is, but he is.
I've seen him get hit hard once in his career, and that was Jalen Smith, I believe it was, in that weird game where the Saints just didn't look good against that Cowboys defense at all.
Yeah,
that was a crown of the helmet to the face that didn't get called, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, that was the only time I've seen him get smacked.
Exactly. We talked about, Reggie Bush used to do that too. It's like he never really got hit,
but when
except
he did,
for one time.
When I think it was Lito Shepherd or one of those.
Yeah, in that Eagles game.
Yeah, or Sheldon Brown, I think it was. One of those really good corners they had back in the day flipped him on his face basically the first play of the game.
And that's kind of with Alvin Kamara. It's the same way. You don't really see him taking any big shots, and he's not afraid to run at anybody. That's not the issue. It's just
he avoids the head-on hits so well, like we talked about with Zeke, kind of how he runs people over by avoiding him. Kamara just kind of avoids them altogether and goes, yeah, he's fantastic. I love Alvin Kamara. He's
definitely not as smooth of a route runner as like Le'Veon.
But he's not far behind at all.
I do think he has better passing, receiving abilities than Le'Veon does. Like, Le'Veon's route tree, I think, is stuck to about 3 or 4 things.
He has a running back route tree where Kamara has a route tree. Like Kamara, you can run a deep post corner post, where Le'Veon Bell is just going to run that Texas route and smoke people.
Exactly.
Kamara's going to run a pump and go, turn around, come back 360 pigtail route, whatever you combine 8 routes together.
Whatever Drew Brees can come up with, Alvin Kamara can run it. Let's put it that way.
Drew Brees is going to say, go to that grass on there. I don't care how you get there, and Kamara will get there wide open somehow.
Exactly. And I do think he feeds off that Drew Brees ability, and he's picked Drew Brees' brain so far, and he's done so well. I don't see a position where Alvin Kamara goes down at all anytime soon. I think he's, to use your term, he's got next. Like, he is that dude that is you don't want to have to scheme against because you don't know how he's going to beat you.
With him, I will say the one thing is he's never been the running back. He's always split with Mark Ingram. We'll see how that goes. What's nice about that, though, is in college he didn't get any carries really, which is good for him now because he doesn't have any wear and tear on him. So I like him being a sustained good running back for longer than a lot of these guys. And the way they kind of pass the ball around, spread it around, he's not going to get a 400 touch year. I mean, he's probably not going to get that Le'Veon Bell Zeke burn on him.
No, but he'll get the other stats almost the same. That's what's crazy is he does it with like half the touches of some of these other backs.
And I think that's what helps him thrive is half those touches is what makes him good because it's not the constant 2 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards breakaway. He's just like, we're passing around. Suddenly Alvin Kamara's open and there's no one thinking about it, an inside zone cutback or something.
Exactly. And that offensive line we talked about in the offensive line recording show, that they block really well, or run blocking and pass blocking. So he has some hogs to run behind. Like he'll be good for a while.
And from all these running backs, I don't know who the rest of your list is or the rest of my list is, but he has the best quarterback out of all these other guys. Like unless you have like Sony Michel or something like that on your list, like
nope.
So he has the best quarterback, which helps him a lot. That's kind of part of the reason I have him just off the list. The next guy I have does everything he does, honestly, but with less around him. The youngest man on this list probably Saquads, the thickest legs in all the land, Saquon Barkley. I know you hate him because he's a giant and it kills you.
Those quads, though.
He is 6 feet tall, 230 pounds, and runs a 4.3 40. And he's Barry Sanders in basically Jerome Bettis' body, just a lot trimmer, basically. He's shakes everybody.
Those legs are the size of Jerome Bettis' belly.
And with abs on them, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
They're all muscle, whereas Bettis has a little bit of soft tissue there.
Like, it doesn't make sense how he's built. He is the best running back prospect possibly you've ever seen, maybe since Adrian Peterson. Just prospect. Like when you he catches the ball, maybe not quite Alvin Kamara or a couple other guys like a James White and stuff like that, but boy, is he not far behind. I mean, he was on the receiving end of one of Odell Beckham Jr.'s bombs. He caught how many of Eli Manning's checkdowns?
How embarrassing is that? Is the bomb thrower for your team is the receiver.
Who should be catching the bombs, but I digress.
Anyways.
And he caught all of the checkdowns because Eli was about to get smashed. I was like, oh, God, I took the snap, get the ball out.
Yeah.
He had how many yards rushing? Like 1,200, something like that? Like with a mediocre offensive line. He's
one of the biggest highlights of the year.
Easily.
Early in his season.
Yeah, like what he did against Jacksonville, too. Is that obviously he's not the guy you can give the ball and get like 4 yards a pop necessarily. He'll get you some 2 and 1, 3. He's a modern-day Barry Sanders with a little bit more efficiency, I think, and a little more diversity in his game. But he's the best home run hitter on this list, arguably. I mean, maybe Kamara's up there too, but the amount of touches Saquon gets compared to Kamara, if he stays healthy and the Giants put anything around him, anything competent, if Daniel Jones is anything, he's decent, and you put an offensive,
young Eli,
and you put an offensive line with him, this man's going to be a force for years to come. He's the ultimate prospect. I mean, like we talked about, like Andrew Luck when he came out, everyone's kind of jumping on like he's the next great quarterback. They kind of are doing with Sam Darnold now, Patty Mahomes. I think this guy could be number one on the list next year very easily. Like he can.
He's like Todd Gurley, where he could fly up a list and fly down a list real fast.
I think he's better than even that early Todd Gurley we saw, where in those after missing 6 games, he's still Rookie of the Year. I think Saquon's even better than that was. I think he's the best running back we've seen since Adrian Peterson on paper and off the get-go. Zeke's nice, but I think
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just
put Saquon on the Cowboys and oh my God.
Okay, look, if Saquon's on the Cowboys, my list looks completely different.
Even Dak can throw the ball to Saquon.
Anybody can throw. Yeah, an armless person can throw the ball to Saquon.
And on the same token, if you put Zeke on the Giants, he still eats. It just doesn't look the same. Like you have.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does it anywhere close to where he's at right now.
I'm thinking he puts up stats like Saquon does, and I'm thinking like maybe not the catching and the checkdowns, but I think they still put up similar yards, just in different manners. Like Zeke needs the 400 touches to get those yards, where Saquon needs 350. He just has a few more explosions and a few less. He doesn't have it. Zeke has a lot less negative yard runs, I guess, if that makes sense. He's a more prototypical running back, where Saquon's going to explode a lot more frequently.
Zeke reminds me of a sledgehammer going against a solid brick wall. It takes a lot of hits to get through the wall, but they'll eventually break through.
And the weird part is Zeke doesn't take as many hits as the weird thing how he does it. He just is hard to tackle. It hurts to tackle him, but nobody hits him hard at the same time.
Yeah, and then Saquon is literally the same, idea, except for instead of a cinder block wall, it's a paper thin wall. He can break any play at any point in time.
He just has to. Basically, it's that paper wall. He just has to finally run through it. It's like the guy. He has to run through that wall, but he's kind of scared of water. If you want to think of it that way.
Exactly.
Once he just says screw it and runs through it, it's over.
Once he gets the confidence to run through it, doesn't matter what's on the other end, he will break off a play.
And that's not to say that he doesn't lack confidence. We're just trying to make an analogy for how he runs. It's kind of difficult when it's like 3 yards, 2 yards, no yards. Oh, wait, 80 yards in a cloud of dust. Would you look at that? He has 5 carries for 100 yards, where Zeke has 5 carries for 100 yards. Or they end up with 20 for 100 yards both at the end of the game. It's the way they got there is polar opposites.
Yeah. So.
Anyways, who do you have at number 4 then?
So that was number 4 was Kamara. So number 5.
We spent so much time on Saquon's quads, I got distracted where we were. Sorry, number 5.
Yeah, I know. They deserve their own ranking in this.
Number 1. Anyway, moving on.
Number 5. You already talked about him. Todd Gurley. The reason I had him so low on my list, again, that playoff run last year scared me.
And you saw C.J. Anderson get his too. Like, I wonder if that offense is just. We've seen him do it in the Jeff Fisher offense. Obviously, Todd Gurley could work, but C.J. Anderson looks really good in that offense too. Even though everyone thought he was fat for some reason, but. Anyway.
I mean, he came in a little chunky. He even admitted it. But hey, C.J. Anderson chunky is still good. Is still a good running back. Like, don't get me wrong. But no, Todd Gurley, that injury scared. It's your knees, and the first thing that goes on running backs is their knees. It's a really short lifespan after that. It's like, well, how many more years does he have? Is this the year that he falls off? Is it next year? I don't know, but I still have him in my top 5 because he has the ability to be that guy.
He is so good. He's in our top 5 with all these question marks.
Yeah, it's just I didn't want to put him too high and then look like a fool at the end of the season when he only plays 6 games.
God, I hope that's not the case, but I know what you mean. It almost has a Larry Johnson with the Chiefs feel, where God, he was the best running back in football for 2 years, arguably as him and LaDainian Tomlinson, and he's gone.
Yep, exactly, and that's what I worry about. That's why I have him at 5. I left Saquon's off there just for that reason. He's a giant, 1, but 2, I worry that he's going to be a victim of the
Giants.
Eli versus Daniel Jones saga that's going to play out in New York this season, and no Odell there, so it's literally Saquon or bust. Like, I'm sorry, Giants, you don't have much to look forward to going forward.
That's fair. Number 5, I have the great biceps of the law, Christian McCaffrey. That man is everything that Alvin Kamara is, but I think he's better at everything Alvin Kamara does. He is a better receiver next to Le'Veon Bell and James White. Maybe Ty Montgomery if you consider him a running back receiver. I don't know what you.
I don't even know what to put Ty Montgomery.
I think Christian McCaffrey. In fact, he's a better receiver than Le'Veon Bell. If we're honest about it, he might not get as many catches, but that dude is a receiver that plays running back and a running back that plays receiver. He doesn't run through people. That's what I think turns a lot of people off. He's not doesn't zeke it up. He's not big by any means. He's 5'11", 210 pounds or whatever it is. He shakes people in the open field though. Like he dances on people. He makes them look silly. He scored 14 touchdowns, whatever it was this year, with over 300 just carries, 1,300 yards, something. He proved he can be a running back. He might not just cram it ahead on power row for you, but that's what Cam does for the Panthers. Honestly, he's their power row running back necessarily.
Yeah.
Christian, in this offense, in this modern day era, stretch plays, inside zones, cutbacks, where you're using quick feet, reading the field, juking people, spinning. He can kind of stiff arm people too. I mean, he's not LaDainian Tomlinson or Malik Hookering people necessarily, but
not at all.
he can use that stiff arm to fall forward. He can run, not really through people, but he doesn't get ran backwards. Honestly, like you don't see people.
I've yet to see him really get blasted either.
Like, I just think he's underrated. He's a weird victim of being white at a running back. Unfortunately, some people are like, oh my god, he's white, he's underrated. That's fair. Other people are like, he's white. That's the only reason people care. I don't care what color he is. That dude produces. He was honestly the bright spot for the Panthers here because Cam was not Cam, unfortunately.
Nope.
I think those injuries, like, it's going to catch up to him, and hopefully he doesn't have the Andrew Luck thing with his shoulder. I hope not. I hope he comes back ready to go. DJ Moore is really good. He's going to be a stud. He just didn't get his chance really last year, like, just with the Cam issue, and Greg Olsen was in and out of the lineup. The offensive line's good, but it's not as good. That man, Christian McCaffrey, kept them in the playoff race for a lot of the year until they basically had to shut Cam down. Yeah. And even when Cam was shut down, he still feasted.
Yeah, like, I agree. Chris McCaffrey, everything you said, I love the kid. He's good. My problem is he's their number 2 option at running back.
Who's their number 1? Are you saying
Cam Newton is their number 1 running back in the red zone, I should say. So he loses a lot of touches there, and he's the number 2 option at receiver.
He might even be number 1, honestly. Like
DJ Moore's, I feel like he's claimed that spot finally.
We'll see.
So,
Last
obviously
year,
I'm joking by saying he's the number 2 option running back, but if you've watched the Carolina Panthers...
3rd and 1, they do a quarterback draw more often than a handoff to McCaffrey. We agree on that one.
Don't get me wrong. If I had Cam Newton as my quarterback, odds are, when I played Madden with Cam Newton, if it's close, I'm going to let Cam Newton sneak the ball for his 1 yard. Like, it's just what has to happen. Because the guy is 6'6" and a monster of a man. He's like LeBron James playing quarterback. Like,
basically, yeah.
You let him do his thing. So, unfortunately, I think McCaffrey... I left him off my top 5 for that reason. I just don't think he eats as much as he could. If you put him on any other team in the league...
If you put him on your Cowboys, I use this as kind of the prognosticator, basically, because A, it's your team, and B, they have the prototypical run-blocking offensive line with a Met quarterback, so he doesn't take any pressure off. Christian McCaffrey is going to have 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards, and honestly 1,000 passing yards if they want him to.
He probably could, and honestly, he'd probably break the record for touchdowns in the season.
He could probably have 35 touchdowns combined in a season with that team.
Oh, no doubt. Like he is the most gifted person I think on this list for either of us. I think he is the most gifted in all facets of the game.
I think he has the most check marks where he can do this, he can do this, he can do this. He has a bunch of 8.3s, but not a whole lot of 9.5s, sort of.
It's the Kevin Byard of safeties for me.
With a little bit,
but he's the running back version of Kevin Byard. Like he's
so good at everything, but he's not great at anything besides maybe as a receiving running back. He might be a 10 out of 10 on that one. Honestly,
and I just think in the era of running backs we're in right now, in any other era, I think Chris McCaffrey might be your number 1 running back. I mean, withholding your Barry Sanders, your Bo Jackson, your I think Walter Payton type eras. But I just think this is I don't know, man. Until he gets a quarterback that's not Cam Newton, I don't know if he'll ever be a top 5 guy, in my opinion.
We're going to find out because I think he's going to last a lot longer than Cam with the way Cam's, unfortunately. I think his career is in its final chapter, unfortunately. Just the way he plays and the way the injuries have caught up, he's not really a pocket guy.
Yeah,
so
that's sure.
We're going to see, though, because we're going to find out this year with weapons around Cam. Like, this is probably the best set of weapons Cam has had in a long time, if ever, with Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, McCaffrey, if Olsen's back. Them hopefully not running him into the ground with an offense coordinator who won't do that.
Yeah.
This will be a fun year for them. I like Christian McCaffrey. If you put him on most other teams, like put him with... I think if you put him in a passing offense like the Patriots or the Colts or the Saints, like with
goodness.
Lamar.
He was with Tom Brady.
it's over for them. You know what?
He's MVP candidate.
You put him with like Andrew Luck, for example, how they used Marlon Mack and Naeem Hines. You just combine those two and you got Christian McCaffrey, basically.
Yeah.
You put him on your Cowboys, where that's your check down option as well as your lead running back. Basically everything they do with Zeke, just with a different type of runner, honestly. And a different pass catcher for a guy like Dak, who's
and it's
challenged.
It's not like Christian McCaffrey can't run up the middle like a Zeke or anything. He can. He's not required to because there is a Cam Newton on his team.
And he's not a 10 on his inside power roll, basically. He's like a 7 probably, honestly. Like, he's still a smaller guy, but...
Yeah, I'll take him over a lot of other guys in the league, just...
Not the top 5
Not
type
the top
of-
5, yeah.
Granted, with those new biceps he's brought out this year, maybe things are different. Maybe he is running up the gut and stiff-arming Luke Kuechly in the face.
Everything we said about Saquon's quads, I think I feel the same about Christian McCaffrey's biceps. They belong as a 1B in the rankings, where Saquon's quads are 1A.
He's going to look like Thomas Jones used to at those old Bears teams, where every time they would zoom in on it, the commentators would talk about how big his arms are. Like, I'm excited for this year in running back play, which is weird because they're talked about being not as important this year. Like, running backs are devalued. There's some stud running backs out there. All these guys we talked about are Hall of Fame potential guys. We mentioned, 7 total names, because we had 3 guys that are the same and 2 others that were different. So 7 total names.
And that's leaving out some of these other guys that are out in the league right now, like, Devontae Freeman.
It's a good run. Tevin Coleman, for
Tevin
example.
Cole,
Now that
Tevin
he's on a different team. I mean, David Johnson, who was that dude before that wrist injury?
Yeah, I mean, James Conner.
David Johnson should be on this list if it wasn't for that wrist injury. If he's the ultimate dual threat running back who has no hole in his game other than he's broken in on the Cardinals.
Exactly. I mean, there's just so many options here.
Sony Michel. I mean, we kind of mentioned him earlier. That dude can ball when he gets opportunities.
Yeah. So it's just, carry on, my guy, obviously, but we're leaving him off the list as well. Like
Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, Tariq Cohen.
Jordan Howard.
Yep. And we're just all these guys are like, they're good. But, I mean, you look at this running back class that we named.
We have 7 potential Hall of Famers listed, depending on how the rest of their careers go.
Exactly. So that'll be fun to watch going forward. And by the way, the one thing I will say about Christian McCaffrey's biceps is he got on that Ed Hockley diet. That's how he got him. Ed Hockley went into retirement and taught people how to get good biceps. That's all it is.
We're going to see like one player every offseason, just a random picture of their biceps being huge. Ed Hockley working behind the scenes. He'll pick one guy, take him under his wing for an offseason. They'll come back with just Herculean arms.
Yeah. By the way, Ed Hockley, please come back to refereeing in the NFL, because we need good refs again. We can't be doing the year of the ref again.
Make refereeing great again. That's what we need. Anyway, we ranked the running backs. It was a pretty interesting debate, and safeties. Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Ed Hockley, give me a call. I want to get my biceps all nice and sexy like that. See what we can do.
Yeah, he's going to charge a lot to get you there. But anyway, that's all we have for time for today.
We'll just bring him on the podcast.
Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook and YouTube pages, Twitter. That's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll catch you again next week.